The mining laser cut through space like a blade of pure light. Dr. Haewon Choi watched the readings on her screen as the beam struck the strange barrier that had puzzled scientists for centuries. For 800 years, this invisible wall had kept everyone away from the small yellow star called Sol. "Power at maximum," called out her assistant from across the control room. "The barrier is holding steady." Haewon frowned. Nothing should be able to stop their quantum drill. It could cut through the hull of a battleship like paper. Yet this ancient barrier around Earth seemed to laugh at their technology. "Increase power by 20%, she ordered. The ship vibrated as the laser grew stronger. On the screen, numbers flashed and changed. The barrier began to shimmer like water in sunlight. "Doctor, I'm reading some strange energy spikes," her assistant called out, worry clear in his voice. Before Haewon could respond, the barrier cracked. A thin line of light appeared in space, growing wider and brighter. The crack spread like ice breaking on a frozen lake. "Shut it down," Haewon shouted too late. The barrier shattered like glass. Where it had been, a swirling tunnel of light appeared. A wormhole. A gateway. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Junho Lee received the emergency signal on his command ship. His forearms moved quickly across the control panels as he read the report. "A breach in the Earth barrier?" he said to his officers. "That's impossible. The barrier has stood for 8 centuries. His communications officer, a tall being with silver skin, turned toward him. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the breach site." "A ship is coming through." On the main screen, a battered vessel emerged from the swirling light. It was clearly human-made, but unlike anything in their databases, the ship looked like it had been built from scrap metal. Weapons that didn't match any known design were bolted to its hull. Strange armor plating covered sections that had obviously been repaired many times. "This is Captain Bo-Ram Shin of the Earth Defense Ship Defiance," came a voice over the radio. The translator worked, but the accent was strange. "Old. Please respond. We need immediate assistance." Admiral Junho Lee looked at his officers. In all his years of service, he had never heard of humans leaving their system. According to every record, they were a young species that had barely reached their own moon. "Captain Shin, this is Admiral Lee of the Confederation Navy. Your ship appears damaged. Do you require aid?" There was a long pause. When Captain Shin spoke again, her voice carried a weight that made the Admiral's skin crawl. "Admiral, how many ships do you have in this area?" "I have a full battle group." 12 ships. "Why do you ask?" Another pause. Longer this time. "It won't be enough," Captain Shin said quietly. "You've doomed us all." Before Admiral Lee could ask what she meant, his sensors lit up with new contacts. 3 more human ships limped through the gateway. These were in even worse shape than the first. One was missing half its hull. Another trailed atmosphere from dozens of holes. "My God," whispered Dr. So-Ra Kim, the Confederation's top language expert. She had been studying human transmissions for years. "Admiral, I'm picking up thousands of distress signals coming through that gateway." On the screen, more ships appeared. Not dozens, hundreds, all human, all damaged, all fleeing something. Commander Taemin Park's voice cut through the chaos as his ship, barely holding together, emerged from the gateway. "All ships, emergency formation. Prepare for pursuit. They'll follow us through." "Commander Park," Admiral Lee called out. "What are you running from? What is pursuing you?" The human commander's laugh held no humor. "Running? Admiral, we're not running. We're the last line of defense, and you just broke it." Dr. So-Ra Kim worked frantically at her translation systems as more human voices filled the radio waves. The words she heard made no sense. They spoke of things called hunger fleets and consumed worlds. They talked about fighting for 200 years. "Admiral," Dr. So-Ra Kim called out, "I'm getting clearer translations now. The humans say they've been at war since the year 2157. They're saying Earth's population has dropped from 50 billion to 200 million. Admiral Lee felt his blood chill. That would make this the longest war in galactic history. A new voice joined the communications. Older. Tired. "This is General Yoon Seo Nam, Earth Defense Command. To any Confederation vessels receiving this transmission, you have made a terrible mistake. The barrier around our system wasn't built to keep us in. It was built to keep something else out." The gateway suddenly flared brighter. Something was coming through from the other side. Something big. "All human ships, evasive action," Commander Park shouted. "It's found the breach." What emerged from the gateway defied description. It was black, but not the black of empty space. This was a black that seemed to eat light itself. The shape kept changing, flowing like liquid, but it was easily the size of a moon. Every sensor on Admiral Lee's ships went silent when they tried to scan it. The thing seemed to absorb not just light, but information itself. Captain Shin's voice came over the radio, calm despite the horror approaching. "Admiral Lee, that is what we call the hunger. It has consumed 47 star systems in our local area. Every world it touches dies. Every species it encounters goes extinct. We are the last survivors of our region of space." The black thing moved toward the Confederation fleet with impossible speed. Admiral Lee ordered his ships to fire. Their most powerful weapon struck the creature and simply vanished as if they had never existed. "Conventional weapons don't work," Commander Park called out. "Use this." His ship fired something that looked like a twisted piece of scrap metal. When it hit the creature, it screamed. The sound came through space itself, making every being in the fleet clutch their heads in pain. The creature stopped its advance. It seemed to study the human ships with new interest. "How?" Admiral Lee gasped. "We learned," Captain Shin said simply. 200 years of fighting teaches you many things. We know how to hurt it. We know how to make it bleed. But we can never kill it, only delay it." The creature began to retreat back through the gateway. But before it disappeared, it sent out a pulse of energy that made every human in the fleet cry out. "It's calling for more," General Nam said, his voice hollow. "It knows there are new hunting grounds here. Your Confederation has maybe 6 months before the first scouts arrive, maybe less." Admiral Lee stared at the gateway, now quiet and empty. Around him, his officers looked at each other with growing fear. "Commander Park," the Admiral said slowly, "what do you need from us?" The human's reply was immediate. "Everything. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier you have, and even then it might not be enough." Dr. Sora Kim looked at her readings and felt her world change forever. The humans weren't primitive. They were survivors. And if they were afraid, then the galaxy itself was in danger. The gateway pulsed once more, then went dark, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. The Confederation High Council chamber buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from 47 different species argued in dozens of languages. At the center of it all, Admiral Junho Lee stood before the semicircle of seats trying to make them understand. "The human ships are still being analyzed," he reported. "Their technology is indeed centuries behind our standard. But preliminary scans show they have been modified in ways we don't understand." General Yoon Seo-nam sat in the witness chair, looking small and tired among the towering alien representatives. Dr. Sora Kim stood beside him. Translating when needed, Counselor Vexta, a being that looked like a walking crystal formation, spoke first. "Admiral Lee, you bring us refugees with wild stories. They claim to have fought an enemy for 2 centuries, yet their weapons are primitive. Their ships are held together with metal scraps. How can we believe such claims?" Dr. Sora Kim had spent 3 days interviewing the human survivors. What she learned made her sleep badly. "Counselor, I've spoken with over 50 humans. Their stories match perfectly. They describe the same enemy, the same battles, the same losses. Either this is the most elaborate lie ever created, or they're telling the truth." "Stories can be memorized," another counselor said dismissively. "Humans are known for their imagination." Dr. Min-Ho Kang, the Confederation's chief xenobiologist, entered the chamber with his datapad. His findings had shocked him. "Counsel, I've finished examining the human survivors. The results are disturbing." He activated the hologram projector. Images of human DNA appeared in the air above them. "These humans have been genetically modified," Dr. Kang continued. "Not by choice, but by necessity. Their bones are denser than standard human bones. Their reflexes are 40% faster. Their radiation resistance is off the charts. Most importantly, their brains show adaptations I've never seen." General Nam spoke quietly. "We had to change or die." "The hunger attacks the mind first, then the body. Those who couldn't adapt were consumed in the first attacks." "Impossible," scoffed Counselor Jenny. "Genetic changes take thousands of years." "Not when your entire species is dying," Dr. Kang replied. "These modifications happened over 8 generations. The humans literally evolved during warfare." In the human refugee camp set up on Station 7, engineer Dayun Lim worked on a broken Confederation scanner. Around her, human survivors watched with interest as she made the device work better than it had when new. Captain Boram Shin found her there, surrounded by curious Confederation engineers. "Dayun, what are you building?" the captain asked. The engineer held up a device that looked like a combination of Confederation technology and twisted metal. "Hunger detector. These Confederation sensors are good, but they can't see what we need to see." One of the alien engineers, a frog-like being named Dr. Pelzon, leaned closer. "How do you improve our technology with scrap metal?" Dayun smiled sadly. "When you fight something that eats technology, you learn to build things it can't digest. This detector uses quantum principles, but the materials are all wrong on purpose. The hunger can't understand it, so it can't eat it." She activated the device. Immediately it started beeping. "What's that?" Dr. Pelzon asked. "Hunger traces," Dayun replied. "Very faint. They're already here, testing your defenses." Back in the council chamber, the argument continued. Admiral Lee tried to maintain order as panic spread among the representatives. "Even if their stories are true," Councillor Vexta insisted, "what can such a primitive species teach us? Our weapons are centuries ahead of theirs." Commander Taman Park, who had been silent until now, stood up. His voice carried the weight of someone who had seen too much death. "Counselor, may I show you something?" Without waiting for permission, he activated his personal communicator. On the screen appeared a star chart. Where stars should have been, there was only darkness. "This was the Perseus arm 3 years ago," Commander Park said. 47 star systems. Over 200 billion souls. All gone. The chamber fell silent. "Your weapons are indeed centuries ahead of ours," the commander continued. "But you've never faced an enemy that eats your weapons. You've never fought something that turns your own technology against you." "We have," Dr. So-Ra Kim stepped forward. "Council, I request permission to share what I've learned from the human archives." The hologram changed to show images that made several counselors gasp. Worlds reduced to empty husks. Fleets of ships consumed in minutes. Entire civilizations simply gone. "The humans have been keeping records," Dr. So-Ra Kim continued. "Not just of their own war, but of every species the hunger has consumed. They remember the dead because no one else can." "How many species?" asked Counselor Zhenni, her voice much quieter now. "In their region of space? 23 intelligent species, all extinct. The humans are the only survivors because they learned to fight in ways the hunger couldn't predict." Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Admiral Lee's communicator came alive with urgent messages. "Admiral," came a panicked voice. "Long-range sensors are detecting multiple anomalies at the edge of Sector 7. 3 star systems have gone dark in the last hour." In the refugee camp, Da-Un's detector began screaming. All around Station 7, human-built devices started wailing warnings. Captain Shin grabbed her communicator. "All human ships, emergency stations. Scouts have arrived." On the main viewer in the council chamber, they watched 3 star systems simply vanish from their sensors. Not destroyed, not dimmed. Simply gone, as if they had never existed. General Nam looked at the terrified counselors. "That's how it starts. The scouts test your defenses. They learn your technology. Then they call the hunters. How long do we have?" Admiral Lee asked. Commander Park calculated quickly. "Based on the pattern, the main force will arrive in 4 months. Maybe less if they find your technology interesting." Counselor Vexta, her crystal form flickering with fear, asked the question they all dreaded. "What do you need from us?" "Everything," General Nam replied. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. And even then we might only buy time." "Time for what?" Counselor Zhenni asked. The old human general looked at her with eyes that had seen the end of worlds. "Time to evacuate as many people as possible before it consumes everything." Dr. Minho Kang studied the data from the vanished systems. "Admiral, the humans are right. Whatever consumed those systems, it left no trace. No debris, no energy signatures, nothing. It's as if those stars and planets never existed. How do we fight something like that?" Admiral Lee whispered. Captain Shin answered him. "You learn to think like prey instead of predators. You learn to run and hide and strike from shadows. You learn that surviving is more important than winning." The council chamber erupted in angry voices again, but this time the anger was mixed with fear. Outside through the viewing ports they could see human ships preparing for battle. Old, scarred vessels crewed by the last survivors of their species. Dr. So-Ra Kim watched them and felt something she had never experienced before. Not pity for their losses, but respect for their endurance. These humans had faced the unthinkable and kept fighting. The vote called Councillor Vexta. All in favor of accepting the human alliance? One by one, the representatives raised their hands. Even those who had argued against it could see the truth now. The darkness was coming, and humanity offered the only light that had ever successfully held it back. Unanimous, Admiral Lee announced. The Confederation accepts the human alliance. But as the Council dispersed to prepare for war, everyone knew the same terrible truth. They weren't preparing to win. They were preparing to survive. And even that might be too much to hope for. The Confederation evacuation fleet stretched across space like a river of lights. Thousands of ships carried billions of refugees away from the advancing darkness. At the center of this massive convoy, the command ship Unity housed an alliance that should have been impossible. Commander Taemin Park stood before a holographic star map, pointing out system after system that had gone dark. Around him, Confederation officers listened with growing horror as he explained their enemy. The hunger doesn't just consume matter, he said. It consumes information. When a world dies, it's as if that world never existed. The only reason we remember the lost species is because Earth was cut off from normal space. Our isolation protected our memories. Admiral Jun-Ho Lee studied the tactical display. 12 more systems had vanished overnight. How do we fight something that erases its victims from existence? Major Sung-Hwan Oh, a thin human with scars covering half his face, stepped forward. You don't fight it directly. You annoy it. You make it work harder than it wants to. You force it to pay attention to you instead of your civilians. Dr. Sora Kim had spent weeks studying human tactics. What she found challenged everything the Confederation knew about warfare. Major Oh, your battle records show you've never won a direct engagement with the hunger, yet you've survived for 2 centuries. How? The Major's scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. We don't win battles, Doctor. We win time. Every minute the hunger spends chasing our ships is a minute it's not consuming a world. On the medical deck, Dr. Yejin Han worked with Confederation scientists to prepare their secret weapon. Her laboratory looked like a nightmare, filled with samples of things that shouldn't exist. The bioweapon is ready for testing, she announced as Ambassador Jinwoo Bei entered with a group of nervous officials. But I must warn you, this violates every rule of ethical warfare. Ambassador Bei, an elderly human who had spent his life trying to preserve civilization, looked tired. Doctor, ethics are a luxury for species that aren't facing extinction. Show them what we've learned. Dr. Han activated a containment field. Inside, a small piece of something black writhed and pulsed. It looked like a fragment of the hunger itself. We captured this during the evacuation of Kepler Station, she explained. The hunger isn't just one creature. It's millions of smaller organisms working together. Our weapon attacks their ability to communicate. She released a gas into the containment field. The black fragment began to shake violently, then split apart into dozens of smaller pieces that attacked each other. It works, breathed Dr. Min-Ho Kang. But how did you develop something like this? Dr. Han's voice was flat, emotionless. We fed our own people to captured hunger organisms and studied what happened to them. For 50 years, we performed experiments that would have gotten us executed in civilized space. The Confederation officers stared at her in horror. Ambassador Bei nodded slowly. When the choice is between becoming monsters or becoming extinct, you choose to become monsters. But you try to remain human enough to feel shame about it. Captain Boram Shin's voice crackled over the ship's communication system. All senior staff to the command deck. We have contact with the main hunger force. The command deck buzzed with activity as the senior staff gathered around the main display. What they saw defied comprehension. The hunger had grown since Earth. It now stretched across several light years of space, a writhing mass of darkness that consumed everything in its path. How many ships? Admiral Lee asked. That's not ship, Commander Park replied. It's one organism. Maybe the size of a small moon now. Engineer Dayun Lim looked up from her improvised sensor array. It's not moving randomly anymore. It's learning our escape routes. It's hurting us. Dr. Haewon Choi, the scientist who had accidentally breached Earth's barrier, worked frantically at a quantum physics console. I might have a solution, she said. The barrier around Earth wasn't built by humans. It was built by whoever came before. I think I can recreate it. How long? Ambassador Bei asked. 3 days. Maybe 4? Major O shook his head. We have maybe 18 hours before it catches the rear guard. The command deck fell silent as the weight of their situation settled on everyone. They were shepherding 4 billion refugees with nowhere to run. Commander Park turned to Admiral Lee. "There is another option. Tell me. We stay and fight. Not to win, but to buy time. The hunger will focus on destroying our fleet instead of chasing refugees." "That's suicide," Admiral Lee said. "Yes," the human commander replied simply. "But it works. We've done it before." Dr. Sora Kim had been quietly studying her translation matrices. She looked up with excitement and fear. "I'm detecting structured signals from the hunger. It's trying to communicate." The main screen filled with symbols that hurt to look at. The translation system struggled, producing fragments of meaning that made little sense. "Why do you persist?" The voice that came through the speakers sounded like the dying breath of stars. "Consciousness equals error. We correct errors." Ambassador Bay stepped forward. "Because consciousness is beautiful. Because every mind that thinks and dreams and loves is precious. Because existence without awareness is just emptiness." The response came faster with something like amusement. "Beautiful is inefficient. Dreams are waste. Love is weakness. We perfect the universe by destroying everything that makes it worth existing in." Dr. Sora Kim replied. "Not destroy, recycle information. Preserved. Consciousness. Eliminated. Perfect efficiency." Commander Park laughed bitterly. "There's your answer, Doctor. It's not evil. It's just doing what it thinks is best. Like a gardener pulling weeds." The transmission ended abruptly. On the tactical display, the hunger began moving faster, accelerating toward the refugee fleet. "It's tired of talking," Major O observed. "Time to make our choice." Admiral Lee looked around the command deck. Confederation officers stood beside human survivors, all of them knowing they faced impossible odds. "How many ships will you need?" he asked Commander Park. "All of them. Every warship we have. Even then, we might only buy you 6 hours. 6 hours to get 4 billion people to safety," Dr. Haewon Choi mused. "That's not enough time." "Then we make it enough," Captain Shin said over the communicator. "All human vessels prepare for final engagement. This is what we trained for." Admiral Lee made the hardest decision of his life. All Confederation military vessels will join the engagement. Civilian ships will continue the evacuation. "Sir," his aide whispered, "that's a death sentence for everyone who stays behind." The Admiral looked at Commander Park, who nodded with grim understanding. "Some things are worth dying for. The survival of our species is one of them." As the fleet split apart, warships turning to face the approaching darkness while civilian vessels fled toward the galactic core, Dr. Sora Kim made a discovery that changed everything. "The communication signal," she called out. "I've been analyzing the data structure. The hunger isn't just talking to us. It's been downloading our entire database. It knows everything about Confederation technology now." "Which means our weapons will be useless," Commander Park said with satisfaction. "But it doesn't know about human technology because human technology doesn't make sense." Engineer Daun held up one of her impossible devices. 200 years of building weapons from garbage pays off now. The hunger filled the view screen, a wall of living darkness that stretched beyond sight. At its heart, something vast and ancient turned its attention toward their small fleet of survivors. The final battle was about to begin, and for the first time in 2 centuries, humanity wasn't fighting alone. "All ships," Admiral Lee broadcast to the combined fleet, "engage the enemy. For the Confederation, for humanity, for everyone who dreams under the stars." The darkness rushed toward them and they rushed to meet it. Fleet Admiral Hyun Jae Seo had been promoted 3 times in 2 weeks. Not because of her skill, though she had plenty of that, but because her superiors kept dying. Now she commanded the largest military force in galactic history from the bridge of a ship held, together with hope and human stubbornness, status. "Report," she called out to her mixed crew of humans and aliens. "The hunger has consumed 17 more systems in the past day," reported her Altarian tactical officer. "But the evacuation continues. We've successfully relocated 12 billion refugees to the galactic core, at the cost of 600 ships," added Commander Insu John from his position at the communications console. Half human and half Centaurian, he had become the symbol of the new alliance. "The hunger is learning our tactics faster than we hoped." Dr. Sun Young Park looked up from her research station. Her discovery had changed everything they thought they knew about their enemy. Admiral, I've completed the analysis of the Hunger's communication attempts. It's not a single consciousness. It's a collective made up of every species it has ever consumed. Explain, Admiral Seo ordered. The doctor activated the holographic display. Complex patterns of light danced in the air above them. Each consumed civilization adds its knowledge and abilities to the collective. The Hunger isn't just destroying species, it's incorporating them. Which means what exactly? Asked Dr. Haewon Choi from the engineering station. It means every species that ever fought the Hunger is still fighting, Dr. Park replied. But they're fighting for the Hunger now, not against it. The implications hit everyone at once. Commander John voiced what they were all thinking. So when it consumes us, we become part of it? Worse, Dr. Park continued. Our memories, our knowledge, our tactical abilities all become weapons it uses against the next species it encounters. Admiral Seo felt a chill run through her. How many species has it absorbed? Based on the complexity of its communication patterns? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The bridge fell silent as they absorbed this information. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to prevent their own knowledge from being used to destroy others. There is some good news, Dr. Park added. The collective nature of the Hunger might be a weakness. If we can disrupt the communication between the absorbed consciousnesses, we might be able to cause internal conflicts. Engineer Da-Yoon Lim's voice crackled over the intercom. Admiral, you need to see this. We found something in the debris of System K-47. The main screen switched to show the engineering bay. Da-Yoon stood before a massive structure that pulsed with dark energy. It looked like a twisted combination of organic tissue and advanced technology. We pulled this from the wreckage of the Centaurian homeworld, Da-Yoon explained. It's some kind of memory storage device. The Hunger builds these things on every world it consumes. What's stored in them? Admiral Seo asked. Everything. Every person who ever lived on that world. Every memory, every experience, every thought. They're all here trapped in quantum storage matrices. Dr. Sun Young Park practically vibrated with excitement. That means the consumed species aren't really dead. They're prisoners. Commander Jean leaned forward. Can we free them? I don't know, Da-Yoon replied. But I think we can talk to them. 2 hours later, the first contact with a consumed species took place in the heavily shielded laboratory of the Unity. Dr. Park and her team had managed to establish communication with the memory matrix from the Centaurian homeworld. The voice that came through the speakers was weak but unmistakably alive. Who is there? I can't see, can't move. This is Dr. Sun Young Park of the human species. Can you tell me your name? I remember Zexla, Commander Zexla of the Centaurian Defense Force, but that was how long ago? Time has no meaning here. Commander Zexla, we're fighting the same enemy that consumed your people. Can you help us understand it? The collective, it grows stronger with each world, but it's not unified. The absorbed consciousnesses fight each other for control. Some want to resist. Others have given up. A few have embraced the Hunger's goals. Admiral Seo joined the conversation. Commander, is there a way to free your people? Free us? The voice carried a note of desperate hope. We thought we were forgotten, that no one remembered us. We remember, Dr. Park assured him, and we're going to find a way to bring you home. Over the following days, Commander John led strike teams deep into Hunger-controlled space. Their mission was dangerous beyond measure, to recover more memory, matrices and map the Hunger's internal structure. The special operations teams used ships built with human nonsense technology that the Hunger couldn't understand or predict. They moved like ghosts through consumed systems, gathering intelligence and rescuing the quantum ghosts of dead civilizations. Strike Team 7 to Unity. Commander John reported from deep in enemy territory. We've located a massive structure at the center of the Hunger mass. It's not like the others. This one is beautiful. The images he transmitted showed a crystalline structure the size of a planet, glowing with soft light in the middle of the consuming darkness. Unlike the twisted organic technology they had seen before, this looked peaceful, almost welcoming. It's the core, Dr. Sun Young Park realized. The original consciousness that started the Hunger, before it began consuming others. Admiral Seo studied the tactical display. Can we reach it? Maybe, Commander John replied. But it would require a direct assault through the heart of the Hunger mass. We'd lose 90% of our fleet. What would be the point? Asked Dr. HFY Choi. Even if we reach this core, we don't know how to stop it. Dr. Park had been working on that problem. I think the original consciousness is a prisoner too. The collective of consumed species has overwhelmed it, turning it into something it never wanted to be. So our enemy might actually be a victim? Admiral Seo mused. The first victim, Dr. Park confirmed, and possibly our strongest ally if we can reach it. The next phase of their plan was audacious even by human standards. They would attempt to establish contact with every memory matrix they could find, building an army of consciousness within the hunger itself. Think of it as a revolution, Commander John explained to the mixed crew of volunteers. We're going to start a civil war inside the enemy's own mind. Engineer Daeun had been modifying their communication equipment to handle thousands of simultaneous quantum conversations. I can establish contact with approximately 50,000 stored consciousnesses, she reported. But I can't guarantee they'll want to help us. Some will have gone insane, Dr. Park warned. Others might have sided with the hunger to avoid the pain of resistance. And some might be so angry they'll attack us as well as the collective. Admiral Seo made the decision. Do it, activate all communications. The laboratory filled with voices, thousands of them, speaking in hundreds of languages, all trying to communicate at once. The translation system struggled to keep up with the flood of desperate pleas, angry demands, and confused questions. Please, someone help us. We've been trapped for so long. Are you real? Or just another trick? Who dares wake the dead? The hunger must feed. It is the natural order. Dr. Park stepped forward to address them all. I am Dr. Sun Young Park, representing the free peoples of this galaxy. We're here to offer you something the hunger never could. The voices quieted, waiting. We're here to offer you hope. Commander Zexla's voice rose above the others. What hope can you offer the dead? The hope of return, the hope of justice, the hope of stopping the hunger from claiming more victims. One by one, the stored consciousnesses began to choose sides. Some refused, too broken by their imprisonment to fight anymore. Others raged against both the hunger and their would-be rescuers. But thousands chose to join the rebellion. We will help you, Commander Zexla declared, speaking for a growing coalition of the consumed. But the price will be high. To reach the core consciousness, you'll have to fight through defenses powered by the knowledge of every species the hunger has ever absorbed. Admiral Seo looked around the bridge at her crew. Humans and aliens working together, preparing for a battle that would determine the fate of every thinking being in the galaxy. Then we'll have to be better than all of them combined, she said. Prepare the fleet for final assault. We're going to the center of hell, and we're bringing everyone home. The quantum ghosts of 1,000 dead civilizations whispered their agreement across the void. For the first time in eons, the consumed were fighting back. The final fleet gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system. 10,000 ships from across the galaxy, the largest force ever assembled, prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. At their center, Admiral Sodam Kim, Dr. Sora Kim's daughter and representative of the new generation, stood on the bridge of humanity's last hope, status. Report, she called to her mixed crew of humans and aliens who had become family over the long months of war. All evacuation fleets have reached the galactic core, reported her tactical officer, a young Centaurian whose species existed now only in quantum storage. 15 billion souls safe behind the core barriers. Commander Taemin Park, now gray-haired and bearing the weight of impossible decisions, looked up from the quantum communication array. The internal rebellion is ready. 50,000 stored consciousnesses are prepared to fight from within the hunger when we begin the assault. Dr. HFY Choi worked frantically at the engineering station, making final adjustments to humanity's last gift to the galaxy. The quantum resonance cascade is ready. But Admiral, you understand what this means? Admiral Sodam nodded grimly. Everyone on the bridge knew the price of victory. To power the weapon that could force the hunger into dormancy, they would have to use Earth's moon as a quantum amplifier. The process would destroy both Earth and Luna, erasing the birth world of humanity from existence. The vote was unanimous, she replied. Every surviving human chose this path. Elder Wu Jin Lee, the last member of Earth's original government, spoke from his position at the communication console. His voice carried the authority of someone who had seen his species rise from the ashes of their homeworld. Our children are safe among the stars. That's all that matters now. On the tactical display, the hunger filled space like a cancer. It had grown massive beyond imagination, consuming entire sectors as it pursued the fleeing refugees. At its heart, the crystalline core pulsed with the light of the original consciousness, now buried under layers of absorbed species. "Beginning final approach," announced Captain Boram Shin from her escort carrier. Her ship, the original Defiance, had been rebuilt so many times that none of its original parts remained. But its spirit endured. The hunger sensed their approach. Tendrils of living darkness reached out toward the fleet, testing their defenses with probing attacks. The first wave hit them like a tsunami of night. "Human nonsense weapons, fire at will," Commander Park shouted. Across the fleet, impossible devices activated. Weapons that violated physics, shields that worked by not working, sensors that saw by being blind. 2 centuries of desperate innovation unleashed in one glorious moment of controlled chaos. The hunger recoiled, confused by technology it couldn't understand or absorb. For a brief moment, the fleet broke through the outer defenses. "Internal rebellion now," Admiral Sodam ordered. Deep within the hunger's collective consciousness, the stored souls of dead civilizations struck back. Led by Commander Zexla and thousands of other quantum ghosts, they attacked the neural pathways that held the collective together. The effect was immediate and devastating. The hunger's coordinated assault dissolved into chaos as different absorbed species fought each other for control. Some wanted to continue the consumption. Others demanded an end to the cycle. A few simply wanted to rest at last. "It's working," Dr. Sun Young Park called from her monitoring station. "The collective is fragmenting." But the victory was temporary. The hunger began to adapt, suppressing the rebellion with brutal efficiency. Tendrils of darkness reached toward Earth, seeking to end the threat at its source. "They're targeting the resonance cascade," Dr. Haywan warned. "If they destroy the amplification array before we finish charging it—" "They won't," Elder Lee said with finality. He activated his personal communicator, broadcasting on all frequencies to every human ship in the fleet. "This is Wu Jin Lee speaking for Earth. All ships, final approach. Protect the homeworld at all costs." What followed would be remembered by the survivors as humanity's finest hour. Ships barely holding together, threw themselves at impossible odds. Captains rammed their vessels into hunger tendrils 10 times their size. Engineers stayed at their posts as their ships died around them, keeping weapons firing until the very end. Commander Insu Jian led the last fighter squadron through the heart of the hunger mass, his mixed heritage making him a bridge between species even in death. "This is for everyone who ever looked up at stars and dreamed," he transmitted before his ship vanished in a burst of light. On Earth's surface, the last human cities powered up their defensive shields one final time, not to protect themselves, but to ensure the resonance cascade could complete its work. Children who had never seen the sun sang songs their grandparents had taught them while their parents prepared the greatest weapon ever conceived. "Cascade at 90%, Dr. Haywan reported, her hands steady despite knowing she would not live to see the sun set. 95%, 100%. The moon began to glow. At the center of the hunger mass, the crystalline core suddenly pulsed brighter. The original consciousness, freed by the chaos of the internal rebellion, spoke for the first time in eons. "I remember," the voice echoed across space, "beautiful and terrible. I remember what I was before the hunger began. I remember choosing to help, not consume." "Then help us now," Admiral Sodam pleaded. "The cost will be everything," the core consciousness replied. "Your world, your moon, and everyone who remains to guide the resonance. But the galaxy will be free." "We know," Elder Lee said simply. "We accept." The crystalline core began to sing, a note of pure harmony that resonated through quantum space. The sound reached Earth just as the moon exploded in a cascade of directed energy. The quantum wave that erupted from Luna was not destructive in the traditional sense. Instead, it rewrote the fundamental rules that allowed the hunger to exist. It scattered the collective consciousness across dimensions, forcing each absorbed species into separate quantum prisons where they could no longer combine their power. The hunger's vast body began to dissolve, not destroyed but dispersed across deep space where it would take millennia to reform. As it faded, thousands of memory matrices ejected from its dying mass, carrying the stored souls of consumed civilizations back to the material universe. "It's working," Dr. Sun Young Park called out from the command ship. now safely distant from Earth's destruction. The hunger is fragmenting. The absorbed consciousnesses are separating. But Admiral Sodam could only watch as Earth died. The planet that had given birth to humanity cracked apart under the quantum stress, its remains scattering across the solar system like seeds on the wind. Elder Lee's final transmission came from the surface as the world ended around him. We came from dust and stars. We return to dust and stars, but we leave the galaxy in better hands than we found it. The silence that followed lasted for 3 days. When it ended, the galaxy was transformed. The memory matrices began activating across space, releasing the consciousnesses of species that had been extinct for millennia. The Centaurians returned to find new worlds. The Veltar awakened to discover their culture preserved in quantum storage. Dozens of other species emerged from their digital graves, grateful beyond words to the humans who had remembered them. Admiral Sodam stood before the Galactic Assembly 5 years later, wearing the uniform of a Confederation admiral and the badge of a human survivor. Around her, representatives of 67 species listened as she delivered her report. "The hunger remains scattered across dark space," she announced. "Our monitoring stations detect no signs of reformation. The galaxy appears to be safe. At what cost?" asked the Centaurian representative, Commander Zexla in his new biological form. 50,000 human lives in the final battle," Admiral Sodam replied. "The Earth and Luna system, and the knowledge of how to build the quantum resonance cascade." "You destroyed the instructions?" the Altarian ambassador asked in surprise. "My people voted unanimously," the Admiral explained. "Such a weapon should never exist again. The cost of using it is too high." In the memorial sector of the new capital station, millions of beings from across the galaxy came to pay respects at the human memorial. At its center stood a simple plaque with words in every known language, in memory of Earth and humanity, who chose to light a candle in the darkness rather than curse it. They asked not to be remembered as saviors, but as a reminder. No species should ever have to fight alone. But humanity was not extinct. Scattered across Confederation space, 50,000 survivors worked to rebuild their culture among the stars. They became teachers, showing other species how to build nonsense technology that could defend against impossible threats. They became historians, keeping the memories of all species alive in quantum storage. Most importantly, they became guardians, establishing monitoring stations at the edge of dark space to watch for signs of the hunger's return, Admiral Sodam concluded, her report to the Assembly with a warning that had become humanity's final gift to the galaxy. "The universe is vast and hungry, and consciousness is a rare and precious thing. We have won this battle, but not the war. Somewhere in the dark between galaxies, other hungers feed and grow. Our duty now is to prepare for their arrival, to stand together as one people under the stars." She paused, looking out at the representatives of species both ancient and newly